I'm not often on top of games right when they come out. However, at the end of last year, I heard about a game that was coming out that combined a card battler with Marvel and was intrigued by it. That game was Marvel Snap. I tend to like card battler type games. Sometimes these can involve a rather steep investment of money in order to keep up with the churn of cards. Was this going to be the case with Marvel Snap, or did they find a way to keep it accessible to people without needing to spend a lot of money? Let's take a look at the game and find out. Marvel Snap is an online collectible card game developed by Second Dinner Studios and is available on PC and mobile for free. It was released in October of 2022. It doesn't have an official rating, but it doesn't really have anything that would make it unsuitable for any audience other than it being an online-only game. Since it doesn't have a chat feature, it also isn't really going to be a big worry with being online, so really, this is pretty much suitable for any age you feel comfortable with having your kids play online. Now, there is no story to a game like Marvel Snap, so gameplay is the heavy lifter here. The goal of the game is fairly simple. When you are in a match against another player, you're fighting over 3 different locations, and you're trying to use your deck of 12 cards to have more power at 2 of the 3 locations. If nobody's able to win 2 of the 3 locations, this usually happens when you're tied at 1 or more locations, then the winner is decided by who has the most power played in that match. Now, this battle takes place over 6 rounds, which in total takes maybe 5 to 10 minutes to complete. Each round gives you access to energy equal to the round you are playing. So round 1 gives you 1 energy, and so on. Energy is how you play your cards. Each of your cards will have a different energy cost. Most of these are from 1 to 6, but there are a few exceptions to this rule. Each card will also have a power value, which will be how much power is added to your power at a location. Cards can have a special power associated with it as well. So for example, Quicksilver is a 1 energy card that gives you 2 power at the location you put it, but it also has the ability to always be in your hand at the beginning of the game. While Iron Man is a 5 energy card that has 0 power, but will double the power at the location it's played at. Now the locations themselves will also add a bit of strategy and randomness to battles. Locations have special abilities and are randomized in each match. 1 location is revealed in each of the first 3 rounds. So some example of locations abilities are the Nexus, which will take your power at that location and also apply it to all the other locations. Jotunheim, which causes each card there to lose 1 power at the end of each round. Or Wakanda, that doesn't allow any cards there to be destroyed. There are a whole wide variety of other locations and location abilities in the game. Sometimes these can really make or break your game, as some decks don't really work the best with certain location arrangements. This doesn't happen too often. Now, depending on your tolerance for randomness, you may love or really hate this aspect of the game. Personally, I enjoyed the variety of locations and how they could alter the way you had to approach a certain match. Now, in the course of the match, if you think you're going to win, you can perform a snap, which will grant you more cubes at the end of a match. These cubes are used for season rankings, which can give you some special rewards when you hit certain milestones. In a normal game with nobody performing a snap, you will gain or lose 2 cubes by either winning or losing. With 1 person snapping, you can gain or lose up to 4 cubes, and if both people snap, you have the possibility of gaining or losing 8 cubes. You are also able to retreat from a match early to lose less cubes if you're not feeling too confident in your ability to win. Now, this is how the general flow of a match goes, but you might be wondering, how do you get cards to make the decks that you'll be battling with? When you start playing Marvel Snap, you are given a set of cards. The main way that you're going to be gaining cards from there is by leveling up your cards and increasing your collection level. Leveling up your cards is just a cosmetic difference. It doesn't alter the abilities of cards, the power of the cards, how much it costs to play the cards. They just change a little bit of the kind of visual presentation of a card. But as you increase your collection level, you have the potential to unlock new cards. Now, you have 2 things that you need to be able to level up your cards. You will need the in-game currency called credits and boosters of that particular card. The main way to get boosters for a card is to play that card in a deck. And then at the end of a match, 1 random card from that deck will be given some boosters. Credits are earned by achieving daily quests or weekly goals. As you increase the rarity of a card, you'll need to spend more and more credits and boosters. So, as it gets higher in rarity, they'll just cost more to upgrade. In return, each level of rarity gives you more collection levels. Upgrading a card the first time will give you 1 collection level. Going to rare, the second level, will give you 2 levels, and so on up to giving you 10 levels when you reach the highest rarity infinity. Now, as I said, you will gain cards by leveling up the collection level, but you will also unlock credits and boosters as well. You start off gaining cards or other bonuses every 1 or 2 levels early on, but later on this will become more spaced out, being every 3 levels or every 4 levels. Now, as you reach higher levels, you have the chance not only to gain cards, but you also have the ability to gain variant artwork for cards, or titles, gold, collector's tokens. In certain ones called collector's reserves, they have kind of a more of a random variety of things you can get from those. While this is the way to earn things by simply playing the game, there are also a couple of other ways to earn cards and credits. The first of which is the Season Pass. Each month there is a new Season Pass, which costs $9.99. This gives you access to a newly released card, and offers you lots of different bonuses throughout the month as you complete various season quests, and also from doing daily and weekly quests. Even if you don't pay for the Season Pass, there are some rewards that are available for free when you reach certain levels, so you're still going to get something out of it for playing in each of the seasons. The second way to gain cards, variants, and credits is the shop. While some of the things in the shop are only gained by directly spending money, for example bundles with cards or variants, there are other things in the shop that do not require spending real money directly. You are able to buy card variants with gold, which you can earn without paying money, but gold is one of those ones that you do earn some in-game, but you can also purchase it straight from the shop. Now, once you reach collection level 500, you will also unlock the token shop, which allows you to buy cards you don't have with tokens that you can get from collector's caches or collector's reserves by raising your collection level. There is also the ability to spend credits to fast upgrade 3 random cards every 8 hours. This can be a good way to level up some cards that you don't use and therefore don't get many boosters of. Of course, if you're like me, you'll easily get to a point where you don't have a lot of excess credits to use for this, but it is there if you do have some extra credits wanting to be spent. Lastly, there is also the ability to buy credits with gold, but honestly, the amount of credits you get for the gold just isn't great. It's like $6 to $7 of gold for 500 credits. That just seems a bit steep to me. Honestly, I really like the fast upgrade and token parts of the store. The variants for gold aren't bad, but some go for pretty high. Overall, the monetization seems a bit high in general for the game. There are a few times where you'll find decent deals. I know when I was preparing this video, there was a Lunar New Year Jubilee deal that was only $5 and came with a variant, an avatar, 66 Jubilee boosters, 500 gold, and 500 credit. Now, this seems like a pretty good deal for me. If you're wanting to spend a little bit of money on the game, it gives you a decent amount, but there are also other bundles that have come out that are much higher priced and maybe not quite as good of a deal, so even these bundle deals are a bit hit or miss. Now, I've talked about the goal of the game and how you play, how you level up your cards and get new cards, but there is one last thing I haven't talked about, and that is creating decks. Creating decks in Marvel Snap is actually pretty easy. You simply go to the collection tab, and at the top of that screen will be the decks you have. You simply touch one of your decks to edit it, or hit the plus mark on an empty slot to start a new deck. Then you can remove and add cards by either selecting a card and then hitting the remove from deck, add to deck button, or you can long hold on a card to add or remove them much easier. While making your deck, you can filter for keywords, so if you're wanting to make a deck around moving your cards, you can filter to see the cards that have move in their descriptions. This is helpful for finding cards that match a certain theme. Of course, there's not only cards centered around themes, some cards work really good and make kind of combos, so it's always kind of fun to see and look through your cards to see what kind of combos you can kind of figure out and build your decks around. Now, overall, I really have enjoyed my time with Marvel Snap. The gameplay is a lot of fun. It's got a lot of strategy. If you're able to play a game in 5 to 10 minutes, which, if you've just got a little bit of time, you're able to play one game. Of course, sometimes it's the temptation to, oh, I want to play another one. It does have some of the downsides of a mobile game, though. The progression that slows down after the first handful of hours, and monetization that is kind of hit or miss. But overall, I think that Marvel Snap is very good, and it could be far worse on those kind of mobile monetization things than what it actually is. So moving to the art of Marvel Snap, it's kind of difficult to really give a lot of thoughts. The style is a card battle, and of course, the cards and locations look really nice. They're all based off of a medium that is very visually oriented, the comic books industry. So of course, they're going to be very nice, very clean, very good to look at. There are also all kinds of variants for the cards. Some you'll like, some you probably won't. I know that some of the art is like, I don't really like that particular look for that character. The worst thing about that is you don't have to buy them, so that's okay. But sometimes you'll get a random variant from a collector's cache or a collector's reserve, and it just isn't going to excite you. And that's okay. But this game has no shortage of cool character art and styles to choose from in that regard. Now, on the other side, there are some things about the art direction of the game that are a bit underwhelming. And the main thing that comes to mind here is the card upgrade system. The card upgrade system adds certain visual aspects to the cards depending on the rarity. So the card will break out of its frame, or it'll start to be parts of it will start to be a little 3D, or the border will be shiny, or various things like that. And it's okay, but it just doesn't really do a lot for me. And every time you upgrade the card, you have to go through this big fanfare of upgrading, showing you what it does and what the new rarity is. And it's a lot of fanfare for not really really a lot of payoff. Maybe some people like it more than I do. It's just not something that really excited me. It's not bad. It's just not as exciting as kind of what they make you go through for it, I guess. Admittedly, whenever you do fully upgrade a card, you get a new variant that actually they do look pretty cool. So those kind of upgrades do help, but just like the upgrades within a certain card itself don't really do a lot for me. Musically is even less impressive, really. I mean, it's okay. The main theme of the game is upbeat and it's kind of memorable. Like oh, I'm in Marvel Snap, but nothing is really too stand out. The music in a match is much more subdued and is mainly just kind of background noise for it. It does kind of change and shift as you do things in your cards and you're putting people out or destroying things or things like that. There'll be some noises, but it's not really a lot. Honestly, it's a game that I think like you're not going to be missing out a lot if you just kind of put it on mute and put up some of your own music while you're playing it. I think that'd be a great combination and it's something I do fairly often. In terms of performance, I haven't had a lot of issues with Marvel Snap. I've had one game that I had this kind of error while playing it. I was able to reconnect to it, but like it didn't let you do anything and I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't retreat. It just kind of was frozen there. And so eventually I just had to kind of quit playing for a while, come back to it maybe later in the day or something like that. And I was finally able to get back into new matches and things like that. And it was all set up. But that's the only time I've ever had that happen. That's just once out of a few months of playing it. So it's not really too big of a thing. There has also been some times where like card combinations would go really slow or things like that. And I feel like that's really going to be what the main issue in a game like this is going to be. It's going to be on like the online connectivity. It's going to be weird glitches that card combinations might accidentally or location in cards might kind of cause some issues. And I haven't really had a lot of that, but I have had a few run-ins with things like that, but nothing that I would say is really too troubling. Now, Marvel Snap is a game I've really enjoyed my time with. It is a surprisingly deep strategic experience that keeps enough randomness around to make each match feel at least somewhat unique. It also manages to do this while keeping matches quick and easy, never really making you feel like you're stuck in a match for way too long, unless you're stuck in a match where people are just taking a really long time figuring out what their move is, which I've done that too, so I, can't say too much. Being a fan of Marvel, I really enjoy the wide variety of characters and locations and seeing how the developers created interesting abilities for each of them. There are quite a few characters out already, some of which are old favorites and others I have never heard of before playing. I do also really like the collection level progression system. Even if leveling up the looks of your cards isn't really all that exciting to me, gaining those collection levels and unlocking new stuff definitely is. Just because I really enjoy the game, that doesn't mean I don't have some reservations. This mainly comes from the fact that it is a mobile style game. I'm honestly not a huge fan of their monetization. As usual, the premium currency feels way too expensive and doesn't really go very far when you do buy them. Yeah, it's just kind of hit or miss. Like bundles are hit or miss. I bought some of the ones that I felt were more reasonable, but have passed on others that are just more than I've really been willing to pay. The biggest concern I have is actually on the content front. I know there are many characters in the Marvel Universe, but how long will they be able to release new characters? Will people spending money for variants in the season pass be enough to keep the game going strong into the future? With so many games with online components and microtransactions fading after time, it just makes me wonder how long a game like Marvel Snap will last. While this doesn't really take away from my enjoyment from the game, and this could be said of many games of this nature, it's still a question in my mind. These concerns really aren't huge. I find it easy enough not to spend money on games like these if I don't want to, and with the new reality of online games, you're never guaranteed that a game will stay available to play, for the good or the bad of it. All you can do is enjoy the ride while you're on it, and Marvel Snap is a pretty enjoyable ride. With its bite-sized gameplay and fun strategy elements, I give Marvel Snap a 9 out of 10. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Marvel Snap does in the long run. Will it be able to keep putting out new cards that add to the game, but don't skew the game too much toward those newer cards? Do they still have some big characters that haven't been released yet up their sleeves? Will there be new mechanics that they release? I'm definitely looking forward to finding out the answers to these questions, and while I'm waiting, I'll be more than happy to keep on playing more rounds of Marvel Snap.